Yeah, there's bloody loads of fish out there. Absolutely loads. Oh, there's a fish. Hello everybody and welcome to another On The Hook video. Now this week we're going to try a look for some springtime trout fishing on one of Scotland's most famous fisheries, the Lake of Menteith near Stirling. And to help me, I'm joined by this guy. Hello. This is Sean from Southside Fly Fishing. You might recognise him. So we are coming into the end of March now and the weather has been considerably warm, but the last couple of days it's just got into a cold snap. So today is going to be about finding out what depth the fish are at and what flies they're taking, and hopefully we can get a few for the camera. But when you're new to a fishery, one of the best places to go first for advice is the tackle shop. So let's go and have a look. So we are fully loaded up, we've got our life jackets on, we've got all the gear in the boat. How you feeling, Sean?
Pretty confident. Yeah, we're going to have a good day. Yeah, we're going to have a good day. The temperature might be low, but the sun's just creeping over the trees now, so hopefully it'll get a little bit warmer and we can catch some fish. So let's get going.
So when there's two of you in a boat, particularly like today when it's a new fishery for both Damon and myself, and there has been that change in the weather conditions, it makes sense for you to mix and match your approach. So you can work out what the fish are feeding on, try and work out how high they are in the water column, and really work out what the tactics are for success on the day. So I'm going to start by pulling some brightly coloured lures on a sinking line, trying to entice the trout's aggressive predatory instincts. The kind of flies that we'll be using are some of these very brightly coloured lures, size 10, size 8. We might use some boobies on a sinking line to get really down in the water column. Damon, on the other hand, is going to take a much more natural approach. So Damon's going to start by fishing buzzers, and we know that this is a real buzzer fishery. The buzzers are going to be a main food source for the fish at this time of year, so hopefully Damon will appeal to the trout's natural feeding instincts. And as I say, when we work out what the trout are feeding on, then we can switch and both go over to the same thing.
So when you come to a new fishery that you've never been to before, one of the best things you can do is nip into the tackle shop like we have done this morning and just talk to the people that work here. They're here day in, day out, they know what's working, they know where you should be going on the fishery. And the kind guys here at the Lake of Menteith have recommended a small selection of flies that the fish should be feeding on naturally. So while Sean is trying out the lures to try and instigate that aggressive reaction from fish, I'm going to take a more natural approach and try and get some feeding fish on these small little patterns. Now in here we've got some flies called buzzers and dowelbacks, which are quite popular at this time of year across the UK, and they just imitate the small cromanoids that live underwater and that move towards the surface to hatch at certain times of the day. So the flies that I've opted for is a little pattern called a Muskin's midge, and then I've also got a dowelback on the dropper. So I'm just going to fish with two flies. It is quite windy. A lot of people will fish up to 3-4 flies sometimes, but with the wind being a bit unpredictable and changing direction, I'm just going to stick with two, because I generally end up getting in a tangle quite a lot, so it means more time in the water the less flies I have on. So yeah, so I'm just going to fish these totally static. Another way you can fish these is under what we call a bung, and that is basically a float, and that allows you to control the depth of the flies a lot more accurately, whereas the method I'm using is called straight line nymphing. So I'm going to let the fly sink, and then I can alter the depth by controlling the line and retrieving it, or just letting it sit still. But you can use a bung as well, so I might use this a bit later on, and this is good to keep your hands warm because you don't have to keep pulling the line and getting water on your fingers and stuff like that. So let's get fishing and let's see if we can catch some fish. So we've been fishing for a couple of hours now. We've done a few drifts around the same area. There has been a high concentration of boats where we are, and one of the really good things about that is none of the other boats have caught fish, and you're able to see that happening. So the lack of action has been across the board as far as we can tell. A few of the boats have dissipated out into other areas of the lake, and I think we're just going to do the same now. We're going to sort of move away from this area. There's been no action for a couple of hours, as I said. So yeah, we're going to go to a different part of the lake that Sean knows of, and we're going to see if we can well, find some trout over there. So here we are, right down at the other end of the lake where we were. I switched tactics. I've got a really fast sinking line on and a couple of lures, and we've been at it for maybe 45 minutes, an hour, but finally it's paid off, and we've got a fish on. I think it's a lovely rainbow trout, so we'll hopefully get this one in, fingers crossed, because you're never quite sure if they stick. They're always quite feisty. And yeah, and then we'll have a look at him, and hopefully that could be the start of something good, and we can get some more fish to the boat. But what a take, eh?
That was a stonker of a take, yeah, it's going like a train.
So I've hooked this fish on a popular stillwater fly called a booby, and if we land this fish you'll see why it's called a booby. But essentially the tactic here has been to fish with a really heavy sunk line, and then have the fly, which is buoyant, to float slightly up, so you get this weird action in the water. There we go. Yes. Woo. Okay, fish number one. What's really important when you're trout fishing on a river or on a lake, wherever, is after you've had a hard fight with a fish, just let it rest for a few seconds. You know, that fish has exerted a lot of energy, so we just want to get his breath back just before we attempt to take the hook out or pull him out of the water. Really, with trout especially, you want to keep them in the water as long as possible, and try and minimise the amount of time they're out of the water. So you can see that fly there, right in the scissors, booby. He really wanted that. Popped out. There we go. So what we've discovered is this fish has got someone else's fly in its mouth. So it's taken my fly, which is there, and my dropper, they're there, but then there's another piece of line trailing out the fish's mouth. So it's too deep to unhook, so in this instance we're just going to leave the fly in the fish. It obviously hasn't affected its ability to feed, otherwise it wouldn't have taken my fly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to nip off this piece of line and leave the fly in the fish. So there we are, we just nipped off all that spare line, we'll get rid of that. He's got his breath back, so he's got a bit of kick in him now, which is great. There we are, lovely, gorgeous Lake of Menteith rainbow trout. Look at that. Lovely stuff. So we'll just pop him back. He's just kicking now, there we are, off we go. Lovely, brilliant. We're off the mark, Sean. Hopefully there's a few more of them to come this afternoon. there. Absolutely loads. Oh, there's a fish. So we've been fishing for a good few hours now. We've just had the one fish, and that was on the booby. Now what's happened is the weather's changed, the wind's dropped slightly, so it's less ferocious, and we've seen on the lake there's been a little bit of action over in a certain corner from some of the boats. So we've motored on over here and there's fish rising about the place. So I've just popped on a couple of buzzers, doing the back on the straight line nymphing, and sure enough a few casts in on a little size 14 buzzer, little muskins, and yeah, we're in.
You were saying?
Yeah, we're in, and it's a feisty one. It was a great take. I got it on the GoPro, as you can see on my head, so yeah, it looks like we should be in for a good day, Sean. And it's a good fish as well. It's a really good fish. I think it's probably a bit better than the first one we got, so whoa. Oh, look at this. What a scrap. What a scrap. They're so strong, these fish in here. But I mean, it just goes to show, you know, ringing the changes and reading the water, seeing what's going on around the lake, but constantly being vigilant as to things that might be happening that give you cues as to what tactics you should be using. So we were down there, nothing was happening, and then the weather changed and it's brought on this hatch of buzzers, and here we are, we're into some fish. So I can't do anything with this, it's ridiculous. Does not want to come up. I think this is on the size like 14 dialback, little black dialback. But as you saw earlier this morning, everywhere you look there's shucks in the water, so the fish are definitely switched on to them now. And this fish, oh my word, whoa, look at that. It's definitely not the biggest fish in here, but it's like the account they give for themselves is unbelievable. Yeah. There's no better indicator of a healthy ecosystem in a still water like this than the fitness of the trout once they've been in for a while. He still doesn't want to come in. Oh. Come on pal, give it up. There we go, there we are. Woo. Lovely jubbly. Oh, right, let's get him rested, and then we'll have a look and get him back. There we are, my second Lake of Menteith rainbow, and that is an absolute stonker. Look at that, full fins, fish of about maybe 2 3/4, 3 pounds. Fought like an absolute demon.
There you go.
So he's well rested now, so let's get him back. Oh. And away he goes. There we are. There we are. Lovely, 2 fish on the board. Oh, there's one. There's a fish. Yes.
Now, if I can make a polite request, Damon, could you stop catching fish long enough for me to get some buzzers tied on?
Yeah, sorry Sean. So we're in again. It's been what, 5 minutes since the second fish. We're in this riffle. There's just fish, obviously looking up. Just hitting stuff off the top. So this is on a black buzzer. I've hooked another fish. This is on the point fly this time, little size 14. One of the things that I did initially when I put the buzzers on was I put a bigger size on, and then realized that actually the size of the shucks was a lot smaller, so I've downsized. So this is a size 14, I think, so really tiny stuff, and Yeah, seems to be doing the trick. So poor Sean was just re-rigging his cast to put some buzzers on, and I'm in again, so he's had to pick the camera up. But don't worry, mate, I'll ease my foot off the pedal in a few minutes. Whoa. Look at that. So we got another fit fighting fish. I don't think it's as big as the first one. It's feisty, but it's not as strong. So there we go. It's important, you know, we're on a catch and release ticket here. You can take fish if you want to, but we're catch and release, so it's important to try and get your fish in as quickly as possible, because if you're going to let them go, then you want them to recover quickly and still have a lot left in the tank so that they can swim off nice and healthy. So we're just going to rest this one like we do with all the others. I can see the buzzer right in the lip, and then we'll give him a rest for a minute. We'll get the hook out, and then we'll let him go. Well, the buzzer came out in the net, which is good. The advantages of fishing with a barbless hook. So there we go. That's the fly that's doing the biz at the moment. So let's have a look at this fish. So there we go. Another absolutely splendid Lake of Menteith rainbow. It's like a torpedo. Look at that. Absolutely stunning. He's got a leech on his back, so we'll just try and get that off for him, and then we'll let him go. There we go, one last look, just taking that leech off his back, and let's pop him back. There we go. Lovely. Brilliant. It's turning out to be a cracking day, Sean. I might stop fishing just for a second so that Sean can get in on the action, but yeah, brilliant. What a start. Fish for the camera, always good. Let's get back in there. Oh look, surprise, surprise, I'm in a tangle again. I've been fly fishing since I was 10 years old. That's 27 years, and I still get in stupid tangles. Can't escape it, man. There we go, tangle out. Let's catch a fish. So we've got about 2 hours of fishing left. We're currently on 3 fish to the boat. So what we're going to do, I mean, we've thrown everything at them. This morning seems to have been the best period. We have been on buzzers, we've been on sinking lines, boobies, cormorants, lures, floating lines with lures. What was that fly you had on this morning? Humongous. A humongous, but the Scottish name is a chuggy. A shuggy. Sean's been fishing with a shuggy, which has got a 4mm tungsten bead on. So we've literally tried everything. So we've got the last couple of hours, and it is just anything you like. Let's get stuck into them. The sun is just creeping out, so hopefully after the snow that we've just had, we had a light dusting of snow, and the wind has changed direction a million times. We've been drifted into bays, and then all of a sudden we get pushed right back out again. So this is kind of our last few drifts, and then we'll have to call it a day. So Sean, I hope you get a fish.
Yeah, just one clip so far. Of
oh yeah. Yes, good man. Good man.
Well, 2 clips in.
Is it on?
Aye. So the shuggy worked. I've switched over to a floating line. We've drifted back into this bay where we've had a bit of success. Damon's just had a fish, and yeah, it was just a case of following Damon's lead, picking an appropriate tactic, and into another fish. This one took really close to the bank, so I think at this stage the fish that are most active seem to be quite close into the shore.
Woo!
Can't really do anything with this. Coming back towards me now.
A long way out, mate.
Is it a blue? Is that why it's fighting like a train? There we go. We got a net, right, you ready?
Did you get it? Wow! That is, look at that!
Here's a blue trout. So these are a species of steelhead, which are obviously reared in stock ponds at Stockton's Lake, but they go like absolute trains, and this one was no different. That's a cracking fish. What weight would you give that, Damon?
Oh,
3.5?
Good 3.5, yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us here today on the Lake of Menteith. It's been a fantastic day, Damon, hasn't it?
Oh, it's been amazing, man. It's been tough. It's 4 seasons in one day, literally. We've had snow, rain, wind, hail, bright sunshine first thing this morning. I can't tell whether I'm burnt in the face or it's just being blasted by that wind all afternoon. But we've had fish.
Yeah, it's been a typical Scottish spring day in that regard, and the fishing has probably matched the weather. It's been very unpredictable. It's been absolutely fantastic in fits and starts. Again, we've talked about this as we've been fishing, but the mode of operation, the real key for success today has been to change the methods.
And that blue fish you caught, that blue trout you caught was, I'm going to give that fish of the trip. Yeah,
I'm going to remember that trip for a while. That nearly took me up onto the bank.
So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and if you want to check out any of the gear that we used in this video, we'll link it in the description below, and we'll see you in the next one.